Hello folks, welcome back to Do It Better with me, DoctorBenjyFM. If you enjoyed part 1 of this or you haven't seen it yet, go check that out and let's progress then with part 2 as I try and do a better job than Frank Lampard did during his reign at Chelsea. Hopefully we stay here the entire season. Hopefully. Frank, if you're watching, I can only apologise. So then, last time we met was the Manchester City game. It was a 2-2, and I talked through how we were trying to impose a gegenpress style system to a Chelsea team that I thought had a squad that was very much capable of doing just that. You can see we've played a host of games so far. The Champions League group has been a disaster. It says there that Lazio haven't qualified. We are not the side that can leapfrog them, despite the fact that we could maybe do it on goal difference. Our head-to-head against Lazio has not been good enough. We come off the back very, very recently of winning against Bayern Munich. They were already through, so I guess they weren't too bothered. But we had a really good performance against them. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But the key games then to focus on in the recent periods, then you can see there the 2-2 was at the end of September. We then played Aston Villa, beat them in the EFL Cup. The Premier League form is really where we're focusing on. That is arguably what cost Lampard his job, and that's the competition that we're going to, as I say, focus on the most. So you can see Arsenal, it was a 4-1 defeat. It was an embarrassing 4-1 defeat to local rivals. 2 very, very late goals. Sorry, no, not 2 late goals. 1 very late goal, a late booking for Xhaka confused me there. And you can see the way Arsenal played, it just stifled us completely. We could not do what we normally do. Only 12 shots for us in the game, and you'll see why that's important a little later on. And Arsenal found a way to just get the better of us. Mount got a goal for us, but it wasn't really to be enough. System-wise, we were playing this system. In the next game, well, it wasn't any better, and arguably this was one of the crunch games that I'll look back on probably, and this is why we didn't progress in the Champions League. Some late drama in the game, but you can see the goals from Muller. They were the key. We had one ruled out from Tammy. We were 2-1 up at one point, and I was kind of cruising. But again, Bayern Munich came strong. And team-wise, again, we didn't really put in a very good performance. Mount, Ziyech, Pulisic, and Kepa in goal had cost us, I felt, 2 big games, underperformed. And, well, I started with him, similarly to Frank Lampard. From that point onwards, we dropped him, and in came Mendy. And Mendy has been our goalkeeper ever since. If you compare the 2 players, though, like there's been not actually that much between them, if we're going to be completely honest. Like fixture-wise, Mendy has played far more now. Clean sheets, 4 for him. Only 1, though, for Kepa in his 6 matches. And ultimately, that is what's cost him his performance or his place in the team. You can see there, Mendy 1.18, conceded per 90 minutes. Kepa 1.83. And statistically, I've been focusing a lot on the players within this side. And the goalkeeper battle has been one that, I say, Lampard struggled with himself. And I've equally found to be a little bit frustrating, right? Because you feel like you maybe cost yourself some points and then have to make a change a little bit later on. Following that Bayern Munich game, 1-1 against Aston Villa, 0-0 against Marseille, 3-0 against Burnley, so back-to-back clean sheets. Really, really good for Mendy, which is what we wanted him to do. 1-1 against Lazio, and then goal fest time. 5-3 versus Leicester, 5-3 versus Southampton. You can see goals flying in. Tammy Abraham, a hat-trick against Leicester, Vardy and Perez scoring for them. But Tammy Abraham has been our main man, our key man. I didn't expect this necessarily. I brought in Belotti, for heaven's sake. I didn't think this would happen. Belotti himself has had an injury, so he's not been able to feature quite as much. And as I say, Tammy Abraham has come into the side and 7 goals in 10 appearances and 3 assists as well, and that's crucial too. Like some of the link-up play has been excellent. Like I say, defeat to Lazio, that's the point where our Champions League run was pretty much over. It was confirmed in the game against Bayern Munich. And then West Brom, another 1-0 victory in that one. Before this Bayern Munich game, which was fascinating to watch, I actually made quite a subtle change, which is something we're going to do now moving forward, because I observed, and you can see there Werner getting a hat-trick in the game against a German rival as well. I'm sure he appreciates that. But 26 goals, 16 on target, and a really high XG as well. And despite having less possession, we've found a way with this Chelsea team to really put teams to the sword. It was what we had before, right? And we talked about this last episode, right? We had this system and we had this system. When I say the system, these 2 midfielders were pushed slightly higher up, so they were in these roles as an example. We'll just move those boys back. And what I found is what we really need was a blend of those 2 systems. So you can see we've got the more defensive shape now, as well as having the players that sit just in front, Kovacic and Kante being those players. Mount, Orsic and Ziyech for the game against Bayern Munich. We were doing a little bit of rotation. A few of the players weren't really fit to play, so we've had to deal with that. And we're finding now that we've got our defensive shape and we've got our offensive shape. And this player here is the key player, and I'll show you why. So Going into this, you look at the average passes per player. Jorginho, who's not really featured that much, is a bit of an anomaly in this. But it's Mount and Havertz. Those are the two guys that have been playing in that role predominantly. Havertz probably more than Mount, I would say. But they've both played central midfield roles. And you can see everything seems to go through them. They're having the most passes per 90 minutes. You can see why my mouse is hovering. That's the number we're currently focusing on. In terms of assists, Mount's got 6 to his name, 3 for Kai Havertz. And both of them are in the goals, which is what you'd love to see. And very similar goals per 90 minutes ratios. The big difference between the two players, and it's interesting, right? You've got one German talent that's coming through and one English talent that's coming through, and they're both really, really exciting. But if you just bring up Kai Havertz here, you'll see the key differences, right? So Havertz slightly better mentally. Mason Mount slightly better mentally, slightly better defending, and overall, you would say that Kai Havertz has got the edge over Mason Mount, which is fair and true. But the one thing he doesn't have over Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, is work rate. You can see it there. 20 work rate for Mason Mount. His ability not only to win the ball back, but then get forward as part of attacks and drop deeper, means that, interestingly, I've not always been playing Mason Mount in this role. We've had him next to Kante, and Havertz has been playing the role further forward. In the game against Bayern Munich, though, we changed things around a little bit. Mount did play that role, did it really well, and then Kovacic actually played it later on. You can see Mount got a little bit of an injury. We'll miss the game against Liverpool that we're going to play today and talk about how we can maybe impact our style onto them and how the two systems are going to conflict. The issue we've got, you can see we're second in the league table. Liverpool are having a really good season as well, and their front three is arguably better than our front three, and that might be what decides it. They've also got Virgil van Dijk, who I've not looked at injuries yet, but if all those players are fit, that could be a real struggle for us. But tactically, as I say, it's worked out really well. The one's frustration for me, and again, we'll talk about this in just a moment, but we'll talk about it now. Hateboer, who I brought in for 2 reasons, really frustrating. Work rate was a big factor in that. His physical attributes are huge factors as well. The strength he's got, the jumping reach, the heading ability for a defender, I think is really important in the Premier League. And Reece James, while he's got a few of those things, he's not quite got it. Like you can see his heading's 11. It's a little bit lower down. His work rate, a little bit lower as well. And I was trying to outwork teams. And if you go here, look, and we go to the comparison screen, you rate us against all the other teams that play in this division. Physically, our pace and stamina is right up there. And then if you go to, what am I looking for here? Technical? Mentals. Work rate. That's the big one. 15, our average work rate throughout the squad, right? So, and that's so key. Goalkeepers obviously doesn't matter quite so much, but you can see it just improves every time, especially in those forward areas, right? Our off-the-ball work and our work rate. And that's what I knew this Chelsea team had, especially going forward, right? And that's what we're going to have to try and use. Trying to get the best out of Werner, who, again, started against Bayern Munich. We will consider who we're going to start against Liverpool in just a moment and try and figure out, based on what they're playing, what we should do. And the reason this game was so important is because, look at the league table, it's extraordinarily tight right now. And getting the edge over a game like Liverpool and finding the little bits and pieces you can maybe find tactically to outdo them is going to be crucial. So I've not actually looked at Liverpool yet. We're going to do a little bit of that live. I will definitely play the game against them. Whether we'll play other matches today, I don't know yet. Again, we'll see how it all works out. Another screen I want to show you, though. Let me just find it, and then I'll make sure we're... No, do you want? I know where we are. Analyst report. There's two things to this that are really interesting. Conceding our goals... the right side of the pitch has been the problem. We've had to use Reece James. We've had to use Azpilicueta, and that's where goals have come from. That right side of our pitch. It's what I didn't want to happen. It was just why I bought Hateboer. I feel like just missing him for as long as we have. Let's just check his injury, actually, to give you an idea of how long he's been out for. You can see broken ankle. He's missed so many games. The Aston Villa game, I think, was the game after Manchester City, and has been out since then, and will probably be out for a little bit longer as well. It's so frustrating when you sort of have this plan. The depth is still good, don't get me wrong. Like Azpilicueta is a decent player, of course. He is. Reece James, really good as well. But this, to change it from the reverse. So that's where we're weaker, but where we're stronger. Oh my goodness me. We are having the most amount of shots compared to any team in this division right now. We're out-shooting Manchester City, who are actually having quite a weirdly passive season, it feels like. And Liverpool are right up there with us. So this is going to be an absolute battle right now. And again, we are clinical with those chances. Not only have we got a really high shots per game, our conversion rate is also really good. You give credit to teams down here, though, by the way, that are maybe not scoring quite as many, but are clinical, like Aston Villa, Burnley, West Brom. I wonder how that's affecting their league positions. Yeah, you can see none of them relegation threatened at all, not even in the conversation. And Villa are having a really good season right now. So, yeah, it's going well. Like, the way in which we're putting our style onto this is working really well. One issue we've had, and it's the isolation of Timo Werner, because of Mason Mount's work rates, he makes up for that a little bit. When Havertz is there, Werner becomes quite an isolated figure. And something that I've picked up on in the last couple of games that we're going to start trying more and did against Bayern Munich is these wider players are going to start to sit slightly narrower and they're going to try and support Werner. We changed things around against Bayern Munich. It felt like we were leaving Werner with a lot to do, a lot of running to do. And actually what we do when we have our wingers sit wider is we allow the pressure to be taken off Werner. Doesn't have to work quite as hard. Not only that, it improves the link-up play, which is something Tammy Abraham, as mentioned before, is really, really good at. It's not just his size and his strength. Like, his strength's not even that good, really, but physicality wise and work rate wise, having him and Mount buzzing around each other, it's a bit of a recipe for success. Right, let's pick the team. We've got Liverpool coming up. We'll go to this screen and then we'll talk about. We'll go to a screen we're already on. We'll talk about who's coming in, who's going out, and Liverpool today and how they'll set up first. So let's maybe focus on them and then focus on us. Okay then, so let's take a look at Liverpool's team. Virgil van Dijk is in need of a rest, and we are playing on sort of the heavy metal football that is played similarly by Jurgen Klopp and by Liverpool. And Wijnaldum, so tactically here, Liverpool are going to play very, very similar to us, of course. Wijnaldum is not the most creative, but he will work very hard, very similar to what we're doing with Mount, really. Quite similar players, actually, I suspect, yeah. Wijnaldum's got really high work rates. Yeah, similar, not the same, but similar. Fabinho is going to play at the back for them. I think that seems like a choice rather than a necessity. And Trent and Robertson, they're going to be problems. Goal scoring wise for Liverpool this season, Bobby's not been the most prolific, but it is Wijnaldum, Mane and Salah, and the recent form coming into this against Benfica, they played in midweek, which is why I guess a few of the boys are tired. This was the team they played. Whether they play this exact lineup again, I don't know. Salah with a couple of goals though, Bobby linking up, Thiago and Henderson in the centre. In the game against Leeds, they played. Leeds are having a good season as well, and actually Leeds, if you look at all the stats, the data inside, Leeds play quite similarly to ourselves and Liverpool. So it's a little bit concerning. They actually went with Origi for that one in Jota, so they clearly rested players. Keita came in for Thiago, things like that. Matip was involved. I think they bought Ryan Bertrand. Sorry, Southampton fans, another sale from Southampton. It's interesting that they're going to play a similar system. I think the fact that our midfielders play slightly deeper will hopefully restrict the work that Roberto Firmino can do. We don't see his goals, 3 assists from him as well. Average rating's not that impressive, but will that hinder what Mane and Salah do? And is there an argument to say that the fullbacks need to be a little bit more defensive? Though I think the only thing that is going through my mind is the fact that we're the home side. And do we use the home advantage, which I strongly believe exists within Football Manager? There's obviously an issue with conditioning for us right now. Lots of these players are passing very, very late fitness tests. It's a debate now then on who starts and who doesn't. I think, as much as I would love to start him, Mason Mount is going to have to drop out. We're going to put Havertz in behind. Ziyech can also play there, but we're going to go Mason Mount. Pulisic is going to come in for Orsic. It's definitely Orsic, and I keep saying Orsic. I can't help it. It's because that's right. It's written. I can't. It's not my. It's definitely my fault. Abraham as well. Ziyech is interesting. Like, Werner is such a great player to have in the squad because he can come on and play across those front three. In my opinion, especially when you're an inside forward cutting in, you're going to have chances to score. Havertz is going to have support from Ziyech and Pulisic, something that he's not had so far this year. We've only played Mount in there. I am concerned about my midfield too. Khedira, Jorginho, both fitter, both more available in that sense, but the sharpness that we've got, maybe with the likes of Kovacic, is giving him a slight edge. And Kante's Kante, like, you know what you're going to get. I think player-wise, I'm pretty happy. Although I've got 9 spots on the bench, I actually don't put a second keeper on. I don't get keeper injuries very often. I don't think there's anything else I want to change. I think we're going to go into it maybe not quite as... No, I'm going to go into it attacking. We did the same thing as Bayern Munich. Let's stick with it again. And it would just be interesting to see. And we can sort of micromanage. As much as I play on key highlights, I still feel like there's enough room for me to micromanage and try and figure it out. And I think, again, the important thing for me with this Chelsea team was establishing a style and then letting the players understand and play with that style and not worry about me changing it too much. I think if you've watched my series on YouTube, sometimes that's something I'm massively sort of guilty, is the word I'm going to use, guilty of. Where in this, I'm taking it a little bit slower pace. I'm recording this like a week before it goes out because I don't want to just rush through it and be like, oh, here's a Chelsea series, watch it. I want to take my time. I want to talk through decisions, and I want you to see a different way of me playing the game and hopefully learning a few things. Because I think my Football Manager experience has very much been, let's see if we can make them laugh and dick about, basically. Whereas I do feel like I do have like a decent understanding of the game. And also, I will be reading everything you write, comments-wise, and I'll be taking little bits from it, and we'll take it into future Do It Betters, right? When the system's going to change, the players are going to change, and the style of play is going to change. So here we go. Team talk went well. I don't think the press conferences matter too much. Now, this is the interesting bit. I've been playing in 2D because the 3D engine has improved quite a lot recently. But 2D was my thing for a long time. So if you were hoping to watch some 2D action or 3D action, I think we've got 3D replays on. But seeing the play and seeing it develop is so much easier to do in 2D. So if you're struggling in your own save, I'd recommend flicking it over to 2D, look at patterns of movement. And this is why, ultimately, we made the switch with our forward players to play slightly more inside. Now, the interesting thing in this Liverpool game is our average shots per game is around 18, right? And that's why in the games against Arsenal, I felt like we were underperforming. In games like Bayern Munich, it was sensational. That was the last game he played. As it says there, Mendy secures the ball. Is he about to claim the cross? Gomez has hit the crossbar very, very quickly. I'm just going to slow down the highlights just a touch so you can follow it a little more. Obviously, when I'm playing solo, I can play them a little bit quicker. But talking through things, I want it to develop as we've got a long throw. James is playing it in. Tammy was nearly there. Alisson Becker. And the immediate concern, of course, is Salah and Milner, who's at right back. We didn't really look at Liverpool's team. We talked a lot about it pre-game. But they are playing... Oh, interesting then. So they are clearly more worried about us, it feels like. And they've put Fabinho playing in the hole. They've actually dropped Van Dijk. Milner has come in for Trent. And so they've gone a little bit weaker, maybe defensively, you'd say. I mean, they're not having Virgil van Dijk in the side. Set pieces, that might be a problem. That ball is a problem. Kovacic there, they did brilliantly to get in the way. Gomez down to Keita. And I'm just looking at the way the patterns of play are developing. Salah is brilliant. Thiago Silva is equally very, very good. Not the quickest, but wow, that's a ball we play a lot. Tammy in on goal, and maybe should have done better breaking the lines. Like we're not prepared. Well, sorry, I'll say we're not prepared. We are prepared to go long if required. And Tammy, again, he's such it feels like he's such a physical presence, which is weird, right? Because you've got the idea of Tammy Abraham, which is like the 6'3", 6'4" striker, and then his attribute of 13 strength. And you're a little bit like, well, how much does that impact his ability to hold up the ball and things like that? Liverpool from the break, by the way, from goal kicks, sit incredibly wide, which could be a problem because what it actually does is it creates these areas of isolation for our fullbacks, and these attacking players are really pushed up. I suspect they're both on attack duties, even from these situations. So we are a lot more stretched than we are against most sides, which then requires the two midfielders that are covering. You saw sort of Kante do it then, to pop across and get in the way. Keita back to Thiago. The run there from Mane, God dear me, I watched him do it as well. He's so good. And Pulisic kind of does that for us, but the way he gets across our defenders, again, is he onside? They're going to check it. Oh, it's offside. Wow. Maybe the run wasn't quite as good as I thought. It was offside. This is a really horrible way to view the offside. I'll try and zoom in a bit. Oh, he was off. Blimey, I didn't think he was. I thought it was just a really good run. You might see it there. It sort of switched back and he was level. We're 32 minutes in. I am a little bit concerned about how much space they're getting in wider areas. I'm actually going to take... So they're playing complete wing-backs. I think taking them off complete wing-backs. I was wondering there if I could move them inside, but I can't. So on wing-back support, I think we sit narrower. I think we make Salah and Mane two players that want to cut in. We don't allow them the space to do that. And this might be the only way we'll have of nullifying them. I say the only way. One of the ways we might be able to nullify them and not give them as much space. Because I watch Liverpool pretty regularly as a Liverpool fan, and they're not good in tight spaces. I don't know if the game will represent that because their dribbling is very good. Havertz is injured. Okay, who you bring on for Kai Havertz is quite interesting. I think I actually know what I'm going to do. Jorginho is going to come on. He's going to drop back into the defensive midfield spot. Interesting that I don't play a playmaker here, which is something I ordinarily would have done. Just having them as a defensive midfielder, they'll still, like if their passing attribute is good, they'll still play an almost playmaker role, but you won't have to have everything go through them. You can be a bit more dynamic, I feel like, especially going forward. Right, Chelsea 0, Liverpool 0. Considering we're a team that have a lot of shots on a regular basis, playing on attacking, I like the fact they've not scored. I also am a little bit concerned that we've not done more in the game so far. So hands together. We've been the better team here. Here we go then. And this is happening in every game. I'm looking at it a little closer. I feel like I need a little bit more data on my screen. So when this happens, we'll pull this out. I actually want to put on, where are we here? The visualizer is one of the better things to have. Do you find it automatic resets all the time? It's always the laugh at me. Every time you load up a save, it sometimes just resets different panels. They've got a highlight. I'll just make the pitch a bit smaller so you can see what it is that's happening. Robertson's throwing it in. Tomori gets it clear. Kovacic beaten. It's an interesting battle, that. Fabinho on a booking now as well. He's going to have to see the rest of the game out with that. Robertson, though, driving forward. Firmino, Tomori gets it clear. Good defending from us, though. And again, interestingly, Mane had to go on the outside. Rather than cutting in and getting a shot on goal, had to go on the outside, pull it back. Firmino's not the type of striker necessarily to always be in there, which does take away one of their threats. And I'll be honest, playing a Liverpool side that are, of course, title holders, 20 minutes to go. Just looking at Ziyech and his performance, Hudson-Odoi is the obvious choice. But I'm going to bring a goal scorer on. We're going to bring on Timo Werner. I do this in quite a few games. His work rates are really good. His finishing ability is better than Cho's. He's got better mentals. He's basically just an older, more experienced player. So that's the switch we're going to make. It's going to be our highlight now. And I've highlighted Fabinho because I'm interested to see if we can get him booked, basically. Werner now racing forward. This is where I brought him on. A ball into the middle, maybe. Pulisic's there. That's what you're talking about. Werner comes on. The pace of Werner. It was almost like Fabinho was worried to make the challenge. And Pulisic at the back post. You can see we're quite tightly congested there as well. Werner not going on the outside quite so much. I guess he kind of is, but he's running through them almost. Robertson has to go back on the inside. And then because they're sitting slightly narrower, Pulisic is there alongside Tammy Abraham. Pulisic. I know lots of people say it different ways. With a finish. 9th of the season for him. That's the perfect type of goal. It's difficult now. Do I try and protect this? Or is the fact that we're so in their faces, is that causing them problems? Also, our possession's good. I think we can go to positive. I think we don't have to be quite. We don't have to take too many risks. But I think staying on the front foot, especially when you're playing a pressing style, is the preferred way. Kovacic, there's a highlight. I don't know if they've changed anything actually. Should we just see if they have? See, I should have had this one. Should be Liverpool's formation. They've copied us pretty much. You can kind of half see it because the ball's in the way. I realise, but they've kind of copied us. Minamino's come on as well. Don't get sent off, boys. Force him on the outside. Naby Keita, Milner, Henderson. Oh, we tried to bend one in the corner. Couldn't do it. I think time is slowly ticking away at this point. We're going to be smart about this. We're going to waste as much time as possible. We're going to lower our tempo just a little bit and see if we can now see this out. Not too defensive, but just like, enough that we can hopefully see the game out. We've got a few minutes left to go. Look at me, viewers. For those that watch me for a long time, it'll be surprising for you to see me play the game in this way. And you're probably thinking, why isn't every series done like this? We can put Werner up front. Hudson-Odoi comes on. A couple of minutes to go. Can we hold on? That's the question. And this is a huge win in the title race. And it's won. There we go. And I really do wonder how pivotal moving those fullbacks, putting them, sitting them a little bit narrower. I'm so proud of myself, viewers. I can't believe how proud I feel right now. No, that was good, though. That was really impressive. I feel like I've done a good job. Well done, lads. Good win for us. Brilliant. Chelsea 1, Liverpool 0. That's what you want to see from the lads. That was good. All right, team talk's done. They restricted us a lot, though. You've got to say, like we go back to the top of the table, in terms of stopping us from doing things the way we want to do them and the way we want to play. That was tricky. But again, I think there's little subtle movements and having more support around the forward players, because the reality is, right, because you're sat so deep, you're hoping that when you break forward, they're all going to intertwine. If you've got one winger sat far on the left, one sat far on the right, they're not going to connect as well as you'd want them to. And then you're going to be like, well, my wingers aren't doing anything. Having them sit that little bit narrower, I'm going to keep that now, I reckon, for the rest of the season, definitely. Cutting aside with the ball, of course. But equally, when we face up against that, and we've got fullbacks that ordinarily are there to help support, push on as much as they can. Chilwell and James are those sorts of defenders. The reality is, against teams like Liverpool, you have to realise who you're playing and sit in a little bit more. And that worked really well. This was a good demonstration of how the season's going. Looking ahead now at the rest of the year, I was going to do multiple games, but I think that was such a good example of how we play and how we can adjust and how you can read the opposition a little bit. I think we had a little bit of advantage. No Trent there, no Van Dijk, so they weren't as threatening from set pieces. But yeah, all in all, really, really good. We're going to come back towards the end of January. We've got a game against Manchester City, game against Arsenal, and we're going to progress forward a little bit more. Of course, the January period, if we make sort of changes within there, then we will do. Then we'll probably do sort of a Leeds Manchester United period. Actually, I say all this, right? I'm going to come back at game 19 because that's the game that Lampard was at. I'm going to compare what Chelsea did to what I did. So I'll play 8 more league games. So that would bring us to, just do the maths, around Fulham Everton, actually. So yeah, end of January, I'll see you. And then we'll figure out what we do for the rest of the season. Again, this is a 5-episode series. If you're enjoying it, drop a like on it. Want to see some more, make sure you're subscribed. And can I do it better than Frank Lampard? So far, yes. I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.